You run a scan. The antivirus reports clean. Task Manager looks normal. Everything seems stable, but something still feels off. System slowdowns that don't make sense, network activity that doesn't match your usage, or processes that appear and disappear too quickly to verify. Now let me ask you directly, what if the problem isn't what your tools are showing, but what they can't show? That's the rootkit problem. Welcome to BlueHat Cybersec Academy. In this entry of the Malware Encyclopedia, we're breaking everything down in a very practical way, starting with what, when everything looks fine isn't fine, really means in rootkit analysis, then moving into signs of infection, detection techniques, anti-rootkit tools, memory forensics basics, cross-view detection, rootkit removal challenges, and finally recovery strategies. Now let's start with the first idea. When everything looks fine isn't actually fine. Rootkits are designed around one idea: make the system lie convincingly. So unlike typical malware that announces itself through damage or obvious behavior, rootkits often produce subtle inconsistencies instead. And that's why detection rarely starts with certainty. It starts with doubt. Now let's move into signs of infection, because this is usually where real-world suspicion begins. Rootkits rarely appear directly, but they often leave indirect signals behind. So when you're analyzing a system, you might notice things like system performance drops without clear CPU or RAM usage spikes, security tools reporting no issues despite unusual behavior, network traffic that doesn't match user activity, processes that appear briefly and vanish too quickly to inspect, missing files or registry entries that reappear or disappear inconsistently. Now here's the important part. Individually, none of these confirm a rootkit, but together they form a pattern, a mismatch between what the system reports and what reality suggests. Now let's move into detection techniques, and this is where most assumptions in cybersecurity start to break. Traditional antivirus tools rely heavily on what the operating system reports, but if the OS itself is compromised, those reports can't always be trusted. So rootkit detection often requires deeper inspection methods, such as scanning from outside the operating system, using offline or rescue environments, checking system integrity against known good baselines, verifying hidden drivers and kernel modules, and analyzing boot-level components for tampering. And the key idea here is simple but critical. Don't trust a single source of truth inside a potentially compromised system. Now, let's talk about anti-rootkit tools, which are essentially specialized inspection layers built for deeper visibility. Instead of asking the system, "What is running?" these tools often query raw disk data directly, inspect kernel memory structures, and compare system APIs with low-level data sources. In simple terms, they are trying to see what the operating system is hiding from itself. But even here, there's an important limitation: advanced kernel-level and firmware-level rootkits can still evade detection depending on how deep they operate. Now let's move into memory forensics basics, because this is one of the most powerful concepts in rootkit detection. And the reason is simple. Rootkits often avoid disk detection by staying resident only in RAM. So memory forensics means analyzing a snapshot of system memory to uncover hidden processes not shown in task lists, injected code inside legitimate processes, unusual kernel modifications, and suspicious active network connections. The advantage here is important. Memory often shows what the OS refuses to reveal, but only if you capture it before it changes. Now let's connect everything using cross-view detection, which is one of the most effective real-world strategies. The idea is simple, but extremely powerful. Compare multiple perspectives of the same system state. So you might compare the operating system process list versus raw memory process enumeration, or File Explorer view versus raw disk sector analysis. If something appears in one view but not the other, that mismatch becomes a strong red flag. And this directly attacks the rootkit's core strategy: hiding by manipulating system reporting. Now let's talk about rootkit removal challenges, because this is where many people underestimate the problem. Removing a rootkit is often harder than detecting it. And the reason is simple. Rootkits are designed to survive removal attempts. So you may run into kernel-level components that actively restore themselves, hidden persistence mechanisms in boot sectors, or firmware, modified system utilities that interfere with cleanup tools, and deep integration into OS components that break when removed. And in severe cases, partial removal can actually destabilize the system completely. That's why rootkit removal is often treated less like deleting malware and more like a forensic recovery operation. Now let's move into recovery strategies, because once a rootkit is confirmed, the response becomes very structured. Recovery depends on how deep the infection goes. So in real-world scenarios, defenders often rely on full offline system scanning using trusted boot media, reinstalling the operating system from verified clean sources, rebuilding partitions and performing complete disk wipes, reflashing firmware in cases of UEFI or hardware-level infection, and in extreme cases, even replacing hardware. And the guiding principle behind all of this is always the same. If trust in the system stack is broken, rebuild the stack from a trusted source. Now let's bring everything together into one final idea. Rootkits are not just malware. They are a trust problem. They don't just hide files or processes. They manipulate the very information security tools rely on to make decisions. That's why detection and removal require more than scanning. They require skepticism, cross-verification, and sometimes full system reconstruction. Because once a system starts lying about itself, the question is no longer what is infected. It becomes, what part of this system can I actually trust? Now let's turn this into a quick challenge, and I want you to think like a defender while answering. First question: why is relying only on Task Manager or antivirus potentially misleading in rootkit cases? Second question: what makes cross-view detection more reliable than a single system report? Third question: why is memory forensics so important for detecting hidden processes? And fourth question: at what point do you think reinstalling the OS is not enough anymore? Take a moment and answer those in the comments, because that's exactly how attackers expect systems to be misread. And if you're following the Malware Encyclopedia, make sure you stay tuned for the next breakdown. If this helped you understand how rootkit detection really works, consider liking the video, sharing it with someone learning cybersecurity, and subscribing so you don't miss the next deep dive. Because in cybersecurity, it's not just about seeing threats. It's about knowing when what you're seeing can't be trusted.